Are you a little overwhelmed, feeling isolated, angry, frustrated, unacknowledged, or fearful? Do you find yourself wanting to retreat from the world? Then it's time to break down the barriers and say yes to yourself. Join me, Christine Clark, on Forging a Life to spark the ignition and put your life into drive. We'll cover how to ignite full circle success on your terms. You can forge through. Every episode, I share a life forging tip to spark your liberated, energized, and profoundly satisfying life. It has never been a question of, do you have what it takes? It is only, are you willing to try? Forging a Life is about you and our world as each of us forge our unique destiny. We light the way for others, igniting world healing transformation. Step into the work and make an effort. Trust yourself and the process of becoming. Forging a Life starts now. Hello and welcome to Forging a Life, igniting full circle success. I am Christine Clark. You know, there's a personal synergy that happens when your business is a perfect match for yourself. And there's a spirit lifting energy when you are operating in total alignment with your intuitive self. You know, my guest today radiates that beautiful alignment. Riley Shea Glenn is an international award-winning queer wedding photographer based in Austin, Texas, who celebrates love in all of its beautiful forms. You know, as an advocate for inclusivity, she understands the importance of representing diverse love stories and showcasing the genuine connections between couples. Riley believes that love knows no boundaries, and every love story deserves to be celebrated, cherished, preserved in all of its unfiltered glory. Her mission is to showcase honest LGBTQIA plus love in the best way she can. Riley makes sure that every couple feels safe, celebrated, and authentically themselves. Riley, it is an absolute total delight for me to have you as a guest today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. You know, I had the privilege of knowing you, years back. And when you were just beginning as a photographer. And I wanted to share just two little snapshots of memory that I have that's been running through my head ever since you said yes, that you'd be on the show. It's like, Anyway, I remember the very first time we had coffee. And we were sitting in these easy chairs. There were low coffee tables. We were at Fletcher's, and it's a bar and a restaurant, and they have all these really neat little seating areas. But Riley, you had coffee, and then you asked for cream, and the guy brought you a pitcher of cream. And I watched you fill that coffee cup like right to the very, very, very top. And you were freehanding it. I mean, there was no table, there was no saucer. You had the cup in one hand and the cream pitcher in the other hand. And I thought, this woman is a risk taker. This woman goes to the edge. This woman's got something with her. And I just remember that it was such an impression of you. Tell me about you, how you see yourself. I mean, because you go out, you meet, you engage. Just share a little bit about that piece of you.
I love that. I was thinking of the years I had in the service industry that had probably let me have like a pretty steady hand, which I now use in my photography business as well. So like steady hand. But yeah, I would say I would probably say I'm a little bit of a risk taker. I think I'm a pretty calculated risk taker. I'm a very pro-con list lady. Okay. But I do like to take risk every now and again. But you know, every now and again that coffee spills, and it's okay. Yeah, can we clean up?
One of the things that reminded me is that this morning when I was pouring my coffee, it was sitting on the counter, and I overfilled it, and as soon as I picked it up, it went everywhere. It's like, Riley wouldn't have done that. She would have held it. Oh, yeah.
That's so
And
funny.
the other memory that really comes back to me, you were part of a mastermind coaching program I was doing, and I
Hmm.
remember that you were here. We were in the central United States, and then you went to Hawaii, and you were still coming on the calls every week. And I remember that one of your goals was to photograph a wedding while you were there, and you weren't there very long. It was a very, specific time frame. I know you were helping some
Hmm.
family out, and you found it. You did a wedding, didn't you, while you were
I
there?
did. I did a few. Yeah, I actually did. I did a few. So it was,
Wow.
Hawaii is is such a destination. And sometimes people end up having either just an elopement or just more intimate guest list. And so they can plan things pretty fast. So I was able to second shoot, and then do elopements, and then do a couple just intimate weddings just while I was there. So I was pretty blessed. And I do think my marketing background helps facilitate that a little bit as well. But
Right. I just thought that
yeah,
was such a remarkable achievement. You went there, you had this goal, you were also fully engaged, helping family out, and for you to just be able to do that and create it. Um, just amazing, phenomenal. It's
yeah.
just cool.
Thank you so much. That's so
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah. And for me, it was like, it's the perfect thing because you put a pin in it that here's this woman who lives in the Midwest doing weddings, photos,
Hmm.
shoots in Hawaii. It's like, oh, she's a destination photographer.
Hmm.
It was like the perfect marketing piece. It's like, yay. So
I love that.
tell us about current life, current business. What's going on with you and what are you doing?
Yeah. So I'm currently in Houston, but currently living in Austin. And I'm doing lots of spring weddings. I'm very much so in my spring season. So spring weddings and spring sessions and couple sessions and all that fun jazz. So I feel like um, I'm a little scared of my editing queue, but excited by it at the same time. Just my list of things to edit, but yeah, just very much so my spring season, doing lots of editing. Well, I'm in Houston because my girlfriend lives in Houston, and so I frequent between the two cities. Mostly for that, I did have a set. Like I did a there's a small woman-owned spa here that I did branding shoot for all yesterday, so that was really fun. So it was nice to be able to I do a couple weddings in Houston as well. So it's nice to be able to make that drive, not just for personal reasons, but also be able to make work out here as well. So that's nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing photography total? Because you were just getting started when I kind of met you.
Yeah.
You were what I would call a parallelpreneur because you were working full time with the marketing company, the website company, and then you were also doing your own thing.
I feel like it's been 7 years since I've kind of started really doing more photography, and then probably 5 years since I've done it full time,
Okay.
right? 2019, going into
Hmm.
my fifth year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like I've been doing photography that long, but I do technically have a minor in it, but I don't feel like I learned. No offense to Doug Wells, I just gave him a full name there.
Right.
No offense to my professors, but I don't feel like I learned the same. But I don't think that I had the passion that I have now that makes me want to be a better photographer, and like the storytelling aspect and the couples that I get to work with. And so I think that drove the photography itself.
Yeah. Because we did headshots way
Mm-hmm.
back when,
Long time ago.
and a long time ago. And I remember another kind of then and now is you were very focused on the mechanics of how to pose people, how to
Mm-hmm.
get them to put their heads right for the best shot. And doing your own work. And as you said, there's passion now. Um, Something switched. You went from doing it by the mechanics to doing it fluently, naturally, intuitively. I mean, that's what it feels like.
That's great. I love that. I do think that, I do think with headshots, they are typically more particular. So you are making sure you gain those right angles and everything. But I think that I am definitely a particular lady, but I think I learned that you have to learn what fits right with lighting and with people's bodies typically. Then I learned that I learned like the general mechanics of everything, but I think the general shift was the idea that you feel however you felt when the photo was taken. And so it became a shift into making sure people feel good about themselves, about the environment, connected to their partner, doing whatever it is that feels joy. So then when I look back on that photo, that's how they feel. So I do think that there's a difference between there's, a pretty posed photo where, it could be a couple or a single individual. And, they look great. They look fantastic, but that's going to have a different impact on them than a photo of maybe the same couple. They're just dying laughing at a speech or like at an inside joke or something like that. That photo is going to have more meaning to them, and they're going to feel something different looking at that than a photo where it maybe took like 2 minutes. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it is a long time when you only have 10 minutes per session for photos. But 2 minutes to do a full setup and get your lighting right and do, the nice backlight and the flasher, all those things. Knowing the difference between that and how you feel as a subject and how you feel when you get those photos back, you're like, wow, we look fantastic in this, versus like, wow, I remember laughing at that. And I remember how your eyes twinkled when you were looking up at me, and there's all these other elements that have more feeling to it. And I think that brought me over to that shift. But I think that all my education and deep dives into general mechanics and tech world helped me be able to facilitate both a natural and safe environment where they get to feel all those things, but then I'm still looking at their bodies and like being aware of the light in the different ways.
You're a pro. You're a pro. No, I love that, because what I'm getting is, as you're talking about, I can feel it. It's like, it's not just a photo shoot to go back and say, oh, that's when, that's us when. It's, oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
There's more to it. There's a feel to it. There's a more emotional memory. It's that next level. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. You specialize in non-traditional weddings.
Yes.
So what does it take to be inclusive? What does it take to get what you just explained to us, that beauty of the technical part, but blending it with that natural part so that people are in their element? What does it take to be inclusive? Because it's your forte. It's something you work on. It's something you advocate for. So what that tells me is there's other photographers, other people in the wedding industry that are missing that mark.
Yes. So what does it take for me to be inclusive, or what does it take for someone to be inclusive, like a vendor or a person, or could you break that down a little bit more?
Yeah. Tell me what you do specifically to be inclusive.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, no problem. No problem at all. Okay. So, first and foremost, anytime I think about inclusivity, I do think about what kind of education I have done and what education I still need to do so that I'm more understanding of everyone, being able to create a space that I know is going to feel comfy for everyone if I know more about individuals. Very simple things that I do is I ask for pronouns on my inquiry forms. I don't assume any specific gender roles. So any of my posing, I call it soft posing. So I'm a true believer of everyone knows how you naturally touch your partner. Like you've been with each other for an extended period of time, most of the time. And so you know how your bodies naturally fit together. I'm not going to put you in a prom pose. We're going to maybe give you like a very simple, as if you're both walk over to me as if you're, you just left your favorite movie on the big screen. Something very simple, just like, just And so then they might grab onto each other. And I was like, oh, that is how I know you naturally walk together. That's how I know you feel good and safe with each other. And so keeping that in mind while also being aware of some poses that I might typically love to do with, like, might have 3 or 4 poses that I would do with most couples. Not all bodies can do those poses. Not all accessibility access or size wise are going to be able to do poses the same way. And so being able to change my poses based on people's accessibilities or body sizes or even let's just say clothing. That's not really inclusive. But I was going to say, but that is for something else. Yeah, so being aware of like how I'm posing people and not being assumptive as well. And I know we'll talk later about that as well. But not assuming maybe if I'm shooting a lesbian couple that the mask lesbian is, if it's a mask and a femme lesbian, that the mask lesbian is taking the man's role when that's not the case. It's just 2 women and they are going to be posed in a different way. And that's not going to be the same way that you would shoot a straight couple in a more masculine, feminine roles per se.
Okay.
So yeah, pronouns, my posing, my contracts are all gender neutral. So if I had 2 marriers that were both non-binary, it would be the exact same as if I had a straight couple, because everything is they them pronouns, and for each marrier, and that's I've had lawyers look over it. It's marking all the spots, but then I also know that that's inclusive, and I also do check-ins. So when they first inquire, wedding process is a very long time. And so I've had some of my marriers transition in that time from when they first inquired with me to how they would like to identify later. Okay, and so that check-in process, again, is quite important. Let's see. My website.
I love the thoroughness. I love the depth. And what I'm hearing is you go in openly, not assuming anything. Even what you just said about the check-in, that from when we said, we want to do this, weddings can be years out and they can be booking you a year in advance, 6 months in advance. I don't know how far in advance. And to be able to just say, check in. What's the same? What's different? What's changed? So that you're open to the potential for transitions. That just, I think there's a piece in there for the whole world to not assume, to be open, and to check in with people. And as you talk about it, I can just hear that you do it so fluently. As you're sharing your operation, how you go about it, what's on your forms, and all of this, it's like my head's spinning. It's like, to keep track of all of that. And what I understand with you is your personality. You're open, you're breezy, you're light, you're fun, you're connectional. And I think you have this piece that naturally, it's who you are, and it helps everybody else to, just be who they are. As a straight white woman, 60 something, I am learning, I'm growing, I'm changing. And for me, I know it would feel awkward to check in and say, so are we still, bisexual? Are we lesbian? Are we, to ask that, because it sounds like, because it feels like that's too private.
Like
you're like personal. You're like, and it's like, and that somehow I should know this already. And it just feels awkward because I'm not used to it. And what I feel is like, I can hear that there's no awkwardness with you, with your people.
I do think that it makes sense also for my industry. and obviously who I primarily serve. I think that there is an element though, where there is one, also just as a disclaimer, everything that I say is just my own opinion. I know other people might have varying opinions about all of this. Um, but with check-ins, even with friends or with loved ones, strangers, coworkers, for that variety, I do think it is up to them if they want to share that with you. Like if it's just an interpersonal relationship, like I don't know that you need to do that check-in. If someone's perhaps dressing more androgynous or more masculine than you're used to, or more feminine than you're used to, you could, give a positive comment on it, if you would like to, or like engage with that, but they don't owe you, that disclosure if they're going through something or figuring something out or have figured something out. I do think that it's important to know that that's still theirs to share. So you don't have to try that out. Yeah.
So simply just acknowledging you're noticing a change and just acknowledging the change. It's like, you changed your hair, you changed your style a little bit. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Cool.
Perfect. Love that. Yeah.
Nice. That is awesome. That is beautiful. We are going to go to a little bit of a break here. This is Forging a Life. I am Christine Clark. I want you to remember the 1000 Project. So by commenting on this show or booking your free coaching session or following Sunglow Transformation on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, you can be part of the 1000. My goal to move people ahead one person at a time. And then when we come back, we're going to hear much more from Riley Glenn. And of course, your Forging a Life tip is still to come. So we are going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back after this. And we are back with Forging a Life, Igniting Full Circle Success. I am your host, Christine Clark, and I am here with the marvelous, wonderful Riley Shea Glenn. Riley is a queer destination wedding photographer, being an advocate for inclusivity in the wedding industry. And I'm trying to decide where I want to go from this, because I kind of wanted to know just a little bit about your move from being a parallelpreneur into full-time photographer. But I think what's more exciting to me is we just finished talking a lot about how you are inclusive, how you work with your people, and that's natural and beautiful and comfortable. Share with us, like, just maybe some magic moments that you've been able to have with some of your couples that are lucky enough to work with you. So if you,
absolutely.
Can you dish?
I have the first one that came to mind. I was lucky enough to just get published in Equally Wed. And this was a wedding. And it had 0% rain on the forecast. There was no rain in the forecast an hour before the ceremony. And the ceremony was at the bottom of a hill. And there was musicians down there. There was accessibility access needed. So it took some time for some folks to have help getting down the hill. And one of the marriers went down, or one of the brides went down earlier, or, first, and then had her wedding party go down. And then before the second bride's wedding party started to come down, it started to sprinkle. It started to rain a little bit more. And by the time it was the time for the bride to walk down, or the second bride to walk down, it was full out storming. It was a full storm.
Did they have a canopy?
They didn't have a canopy. There was no reason for a rain plan. There was nothing in the forecast. It was just a crazy Texas rainstorm, and it came in hard, fast, and quick. And we got, just when the second bride started coming down, I mean, it was a really elaborate wedding. It was just beautiful. It had so many flowers, all these things. But you think, oh my goodness, all this hard work that we just put into this wedding is going down the drain. But when the bride started coming down, or the second bride started coming down, everyone started just like clapping and applauding, and it was just like a really beautiful way of like to bring everyone together. It was just like a really nice community moment for everyone, along with the fact that we got just a fantastic rainbow out of the experience too. So a really beautiful silver lining on top. Yeah, so that was kind of a crazy moment. And I don't think I'll ever forget that wedding, just because the sheer chaos for us vendors that were like, oh my gosh, like all my I always travel with I'm pretty type A with like my backup gear and all my other things. So for all of that stuff, I had like my fanny pack of my necessities, but my camera bag that had my rain jacket and my rain stuff in it was at the top of the hill in the venue. And so we were all just kind of running around and shooting and doing our thing. Me and my second shooter and the two videographers. And it was such a crazy rainstorm that the water got into my camera, like on the sides, which is, I don't know if you know anything about technology. Water does not mix the best. But
no, water in electronics is fine. It's all right.
Yeah, but I had invested in some high-end SD cards, and I was like, oh, wow, this was something that if I hadn't done that, these images that we had shot earlier in the day and now would have been lost because of this thing. But luckily that was done ahead of time, along with, the magic that we got in the moment. So it was pretty spectacular. And I know that sounds like a bad thing, but everyone got dried off. It was Texas heat. So everyone cooled off, and it just was a really nice little, camaraderie moment for all the guests. Yeah. So that was one magic.
Very magical, because
yes,
with a different group of people on a different day, people would have been falling apart and running, and there would be a lot of angst. But because of the people that you had in the group that was there, they lifted it up. And I could just imagine that was just, potential disaster turned into an extraordinarily beautiful time that just wasn't planned.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I was like, wow, I really made sure that this wedding was memorable for sure.
Right.
So when I think of magic, I'm thinking about my couples themselves versus magic that I've created. Or magic that happened on the day, more so than magic I created. Is that what you were asking?
Well, I think I wanted both, because I think you do create magic. I mean, I do. Looking at, I follow you on Instagram, Snooper, and the images you have and the expressions and your couples. It was like, you own it, girl. You create some of that. You do some of that. You said it. You bring your mojo to the moment.
Thank you. I do think that I have heard, just most of the time when people leave a session with me or a wedding, how much better they felt after or like during than they had anticipated, because it is scary to have a lens pointed at you. But for someone to tell me after the session that like either a combination of like, it was so fun to have you be a part of this celebration with us, and you let us be ourselves, or to couples where it was like, I felt more comfortable being myself in front of your lens than I have in public most of the time. Like, wow. I got to be a more genuine and authentic version of myself with my partner in front of your lens and in the space that you created for us than I have in a very long time. And like, I've gotten
Oh,
really beautiful notes from people and just messages from people after sessions where they've gone home and debriefed their feelings and all these things. And it's pretty magical, because a lot of times it's easy to think my job doesn't make a difference when it's photography, versus, understanding that it can make such a difference for each individual, and each couple, along with like building the connection, but, making them feel so safe, seen, and
yeah.
recognized. Yeah.
Yeah. That is huge. When you said that, oof, I could feel it. I could feel it. Yeah. People felt more comfortable with you in front of your lens
You're gonna make me cry.
than they did in public.
Mm-hmm.
That says tons, Riley. That is amazing in two regards. One is that our society has a way to go yet, right?
Yeah.
Period. And the other is that, yeah, when there's a camera pointed at you, it is hard to be relaxed, natural, but to be able to say, I felt more comfortable, felt more myself. That's a beautiful thing. What you're able to create, what you're able to do. So,
Thank you so
cool.
much.
Yeah, cool. I think the couples that get to work with you are extremely lucky. And you shared with me a little bit about how working with these couples also impacted you on a personal level.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you're willing to share, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but would you be willing to talk about your transition from identifying as bisexual to identifying as lesbian?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So when I grew up in the Midwest. I was lucky enough to date women at the time when I was younger. I don't think I truly knew my identity, along with enough compet and religious trauma and, good old stuff in there, to have that, separation. Then I was lucky enough to date my best friend for many years. And he was just wonderful. But after getting to document and getting to see so many of you were just crying a second ago, and now I was emotional, and now you're having me talk about all this stuff. Okay, no,
Breathe, and
but no,
we're good. We're good. We're good.
But yes, I had a wonderful boyfriend, and but I realized after documenting some of my couples that our relationship or partnership was not that. It was not romantic. It was not what I was seeing in front of my lens, or getting the privilege to surround myself with, and just seeing the difference, then understanding the different varieties of love that you can feel, along with being able to be true and honest with myself, with perhaps why, because I knew when I was younger and a teenager that I was attracted to women, and that I knew that was a part of my identity, but realizing that men were not even in that. Even like this friend that I was so close with and built and grew with, but knowing that was just a difference between what that relationship was versus what a true romantic relationship is, and like with a different both capacity and foundation and communication and all those other wonderful things. Yeah, that was something I had to come to terms with, and me and him are still on very good terms, and I'm incredibly grateful for what that relationship was along with, the friendship that I have now. So we're friends before, during, and after. So
Beautiful.
mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing
absolutely.
that with us. Thank you for being vulnerable and open.
Mhm.
So you have a relationship with somebody in
Mhm.
Houston now. So
Mhm.
did you get your mojo? Did you find it?
Yeah. Oh, how did I find it? Is that what you asked?
No. Did you? I mean,
Oh, I
I'm assuming that you found that depth that you were looking for, that you saw in front of the lens.
yeah, for sure. I think that also knowing, I think that when I was younger, I did not have the same capacity for a relationship itself, for what it could be with those people in the past versus now where I'm maybe a little bit more, more, sorry, a message popped up and it made me laugh.
Yeah, or we're gonna share this, that our
Yeah.
producer says that we're making her cry too, which is lovely. I love it. All you people out there, go ahead, let it out. If you'd found that extra that was missing
Oh,
in your current
yes, I
relationship, but you were
think that
talking about maturity and growing up, which yay, right? We
yeah.
do. It's different.
Yes, it's definitely different. And I think that being able to feel like this is right is a feeling that I wasn't able to have before. There was just like there was something missing. Um and yeah, now I'm very happy with my lovely girlfriend now. So
Oh, congratulations!
yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and again, thank you for sharing that, for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Honored for that. Um,
I know she'll listen to this later. So hello, Kristen. Thank you.
okay.
She's on the meeting now.
Yeah, good. Um, I want to pull out just one little piece
Hmm.
that you talked about, comp het,
Yes.
compulsory heterosexual. That and it's, I mean, as a coach, I work with people, and quite often what we're working through is a lot of training our from our parents, from our society, as
Hmm.
we grow up, because we want to fit, we want to belong, we want to have love, we want to have connection, we want to be assured that we're good people, and we sometimes things that we do don't serve us. And we're going to
Hmm.
skip the break. We're just going to keep right on rolling through the end here.
Cool.
But I hadn't heard the term compulsory heterosexuality before, and
Hmm.
it's like, oh, this is along
It makes
similar
sense.
things, but this is just something I hadn't heard about. So um, if you give me a little teaching moment here,
Yeah, absolutely.
because I think I kind of understand, but I want to understand really, truly. And compulsory heterosexuality, and for what it means for LGBTQIA plus people, because
Mhm.
it's, I'm assuming it's one of those things, you're this is what society looks at things. This is what you've seen on TV screens. This is what it is, and there's a piece of me that's not fitting that. But when do we
Right.
figure this out? And then how does that play into the bold move to be authentic and who
Hmm.
you are, right?
I could not find my spot that I thought I'd say, but it's okay. It is essentially the uh, world that we live in, or at least especially one that I was brought up in. Um, that the only thing you consume is a man and a woman together. All your childhood books, all your TV shows, all your coloring books, any cartoons, anything like that. It's just a male and a female characters, are all these couples. And then you add a little bit of patriarchy to it, where women are
A
just
little.
that little sprinkle, a little sprinkle in there,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and where women are. supposed to be groomed for approval of a man's eye,
Right.
or your goal is to get a man, or your goal is to get married and have a family or not have a family. But it's to get married to a man and then have your thing or whatever. And just deconstructing that, along with all the other things that go around it, and realizing that it's not something that's wrong with you, but it's how you were
it's
built,
how you
built up.
It's how we were socialized. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Assuming that everyone is straight and enforcing that narrative on young people. And I know that, like, growing up in the Midwest, I never saw any lesbians. I mean, it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I, and it's just that, yeah.
When we go off to college, we find out there's a bigger world out there.
Yes, that world is pretty big. Yeah.
And it's just an interesting concept that I understand. And this is another piece of our socialization that at some point, isn't not serving everybody, or not serving individuals. Yeah. Tell me what the letters LGBTQIA mean, and are there other terms that can be used? Because that's a lot. That's a mouthful. That's And so tell me about terms that are okay, or maybe when a term is okay and when a term is not okay. If you would be.
That's a good question.
Because
I love
when
that.
we had our conversation, you say, I'm queer. And I'm thinking at 60 plus, and thinking, queer used to mean, when I was growing up in high school, that was not good.
Yeah.
that was a negative. And so tell me about the acronym.
No problem. So L stands for lesbian. And actually the reason that lesbians are first, I can give a very brief history, or like synopsis.
Let's just do the words right now.
Okay. Sounds good.
I still want to get my life forging tip in, because I haven't forgot about you. I know you're waiting for it. We're going to give it to you, but yeah, just give us the terms. Yeah.
Sure. L stands for lesbian. G stands for gay. B stands for bisexual. T stands for trans. Q stands for queer. I stands for intersex. A stands for asexual. Then plus stands for the many other acronyms that are not added.
So non-binary is not part of that. That's a plus.
Mm-hmm. That's in the plus. Yeah.
Okay.
Non-binary is under the trans umbrella, because trans is not cis. So cis is the gender, is the you are identifying with the gender and sexuality that was assigned to you at birth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Run it by me one more time.
So trans is you are not cis. So cis, I was born and assigned female at birth, and I identify as female, and so I'm cis.
Okay.
But not like cis, but like cis.
Yeah, right.
And so non-binary would fall under the trans umbrella.
Okay.
But non-binary or two spirits or anything like that is in the plus of the LGBT. Queer is kind of a reclaimed word for the community. I would not use it with any of my clients that are 55 unless they chose to use it first.
Okay.
But if I was with a younger couple, I would probably use that pretty freely, because I identify as queer, I identify as lesbian, I could identify as gay. All those things are I feel true to me. But someone else, since a lot of people had to go through that when they were growing up, it is derogatory and it can be seen as negative. Right. If you're not part of that reclaiming of it, or you're just like have had too much negativity around it that you just don't want to identify. So I wouldn't use that. I would use queer with any of my couples now. I would use LGBTQ plus. But in general, I probably would keep using, even though it does feel like a mouthful. I say it so often that it doesn't too much anymore. You do get used to it.
Keep spitting it out and it'll start rolling. Okay.
Yes. Yep. You can say LGBT plus if you would like to shorten it and short the QIA off. LGBTQ plus is a pretty typical one as well. The IA was added in the last few years. But I would say LGBTQ plus is a good all-encompassing one. Then if someone identifies as, oh, we're gay, or I'm gay, or we're lesbians, or we're trans, or we're queer, those are then good ways for you to identify them as well. But I would wait till they self-identify before you give them.
Okay. Awesome. I'm up for it. I'll do the work. I'll make it, cool. I'll say it enough that it comes out easier.
Perfect.
And back to that awareness, openness, and, learning, right? Thank you for that. I learned a lot, right? In that little space is like, I learned a lot. Now, people, I know we're going to diverge just a little bit because I want to make sure that we get the life forging tip in. We're going to give it to you. And then Riley and I can have a little bit more conversation before we wrap the show. So let's go ahead and just give that to you. This is your life forging tip. Language. We're talking a lot about language and word use, and LGBTQIA plus, being able to say it, being able to use the right terms. Language and word use are incredibly important, both to honor and be inclusive with others, but it also is very, very important when talking to yourself. Today, and I'll share with you a word pair to instantly shift your energy and your mindset. This is great stuff. So here is your life forging tip. How versus why. When we ask why, it is essential. It is usual. When we're asking why, it's usual that it's in response to a circumstance that we wish was or wish wasn't, we've made a mistake. And like we're asking, why can't I get ahead? Why is this happening to me? Why can't I get this? And when we ask why, we are sending our brain on a field trip to bring up every failure we have ever had, all the shortcomings. This is why, kiddo. Now, when we ask how, it's a totally different energy. How opens to possibility. How can I get ahead? How can I change my circumstance? How can I get this down? That's an exploration. Creativity, options. Your brain will generate all kinds of wonderful stuff for you. So, how versus why is essential. As often as possible, when you are asking, why is it that this is happening to me? Switch it to, how can I change this? You will feel an energy shift, I guarantee, and the possibilities are going to explode. So that's your life forging tip for today. We are just about ready to wind down and wrap up. I'm going to just ask Riley, is there any last thing that you want to share with people real quickly?
Two things. One, super easy. If you have anyone non-binary in your life or that uses pronouns that you're not used to, have a plant and give that plant those pronouns. So then every time you talk to that plant, which is good for your plants in general, but you are also practicing that pronoun. So then you can better respect and love your friend or your loved one in your life just a little bit better by having practiced that. So that's a really easy way to do that. And the second one is if you, give me a follow on Instagram. If you have any queer friends that are looking for a wedding photographer or a couple session that need a safe place or that they're having trouble finding that, or if you know any vendors that need help being more affirming and inclusive and they need help in that way, have them reach out as well.
Reach out to Riley because she will. Yep, she will go where they're going to go. She'll come to them. Absolutely. Thank you, Riley. Love knows no boundaries. Same is true for respect and compassion. So inclusive, humanity affirming change happens one interaction, one conversation, one celebration at a time. My guest today has been Riley Shea Glenn. Thank you for being with us, Riley. You can find her on Instagram and on Facebook and at Riley Glenn. Is it Riley Glenn Photography?
On Facebook, but on Instagram, it's just Riley Shea Glenn.
Riley Shea Glenn on Instagram. Thank you so much for being with us today. This has been Forging a Life, Creating Full Circle Success. I'm your host, Christine Clark. You can find me at Sunglow Transformation on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, keep forging through. You have been listening to Forging a Life with me, Christine Clark, igniting full circle success. Tune in every second and fourth Tuesday at 9 a.m. on Transformation Talk Radio for more life-forging tips to spark your liberated, energized, and profoundly satisfying life. As each of us forge our unique destiny, we light the way for others, igniting world-healing transformation. It's never been a question of, do you have what it takes? It's only, are you willing to try? Schedule a complimentary personal clarity session. Visit forgingalife.com. That's forgingalife.com.